What's up, party people?
Hello, hello, hello.
We're talking about a serious subject, and I come off sounding like a buffoon. I always do. Yeah. I like to pretend I'm the queen. I think I'm the jester, to be honest. So parents out there, if you're listening, and we hope that you are, what are the limits? Are there limits to how far you'd go to protect your kid, protect a loved one? How many of us have said, because I know I have, and I know that my ghost host with the most has as well, somebody hurts one of my kids, I'm going to prison and you're going to the morgue. But is that really?
Is that really how? Because I was gonna say I don't want I wouldn't kill them. No, I would want them to be disfigured and live the rest of their life in so much pain that every time they woke up, they would think about me and what they did, and that eventually they would end their own life, but they would be tormented until the day they did.
That too. But we all have some type of scenario that we would do if somebody, hurt your child. Would whatever your limit to, some people say, well, I couldn't hurt a fly. Some people are like, oh, I don't have the stomach for that type of, they won't even watch a torture type of movie that is obviously staged because they think to themselves, like, I could never do that. But what if it was your child? Would your limits be exceeded? Sit back into those jury seats, party people, and listen to the stories of the following vigilante parents who committed the ultimate act of revenge, seeking justice for their children. Now, you guys are going to be probably a little surprised that the outcome, because I would truly like to believe that what I would do to a person who harmed one of my kids and now my grandkid, that I would be seen as a, national hero, a state hero. I would be seen as a hero because I took this piece of shit out of the world. And my kids would feel that way. So we're going to go with our first person. The year was 1987. And so for our party people, I was 13 years old in 87. And Lav was still a sperm in,
7, I was 1.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's right. So you were a year old. So you were right. Okay. So both of us were within the age stature that that our subjects are about. So it's going to be perfect. Elena Starr Nestler, known to her family as Ellie, welcomed a beautiful baby boy she named William. Now, as many red-blooded Americans, Willie loved baseball and eventually was old enough for his hometown of Sonora, California's Pee Wee League. So you guys know I'm in the area around Turlock, Merced, Fresno area. Now, if you have listened to our episode of with the Shaws, you will recognize Sonora as the place where Mr. Shaw had lived prior to marrying and moving someplace else in California. If you haven't, go give it a listen. It's a fun little episode. It's eye-opening, and it is definitely entertaining. And it's definitely a lot lighter than what we're going to talk about. So trigger warning, we are going to talk about sexual abuse, of a minor. We are going to talk about rape, abduction, and murder. You know what we say. We don't hold it against you if you can't sit through it with us. But if you are here, thank you. We appreciate you sticking around. The team's coach, Daniel Driver, was a hands-on type of coach, was very involved with some of the boys outside of the team barrier. Now, our daughter was a competitive cheerleader, and her coaches sometimes were very hands-on outside of the gym or outside of a competition, but it was never anything where, the parents weren't welcome to be there, or, or it was nothing ever weird. It was a lot of team building and like strong women, like helping them to grow into whatever they wanted to be. So, I mean, I've been in that situation, and there was nothing nefarious about it. But between 1991 and 1992, Driver, who was secretly a repetitive sex offender, raped 5 boys from his little league team.
Damn.
One of them being 6-year-old Willie Nessler. Younger kids or high school kids or grandkids, and they are involved in some type of team sport, their coaches become like idols to them, because a lot of kids, when they join a sport, they're looking at this being their job. They want to be in the NFL. They want to be in the WNBA. They want to be in the National Hockey League. And most of the time, coaches have already been there. April 1st, 1993. So I had graduated high school in February of 1993. And I was spending my summer getting packed up, getting ready to leave for Los Angeles to go to college. And this news report comes over Channel 3 News. And Ellie Nessler walked into the Jamestown, California courthouse, where Daniel Driver's trial had begun. And after a short hesitation, pulled a .22 caliber handgun from her purse and shot Driver 5 times at point blank range in the head, dropping him on the spot. Nessler was taken into custody with no resistance. So this is the 90s. This is before they had metal detectors. Like, they would pat you down, but in a small courthouse like Jamestown, because Jamestown, I think, literally has 1,000 people. They didn't check you. They didn't pat you down. If you didn't walk in carrying a shotgun, you were fine. Nessler tested positive for methamphetamines that her defense team claimed she only used at that time to give her the courage to shoot her son's assailant. What do sometimes people call alcohol, liquid courage? So this was a little narcotic courage. But what we're going to see is
it was the cabinet. The kids in the kitchen getting a snack or something to drink. And
oh, yeah, I hear that like at 3 a.m. sometimes. Scares shit out of me. So Nessler's defense team successfully presented her as a mother whose mental and emotional health had deteriorated after discovering her son had been molested. The judge looked at her with sympathetic eyes as Nestler pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. With time served and an accepted appeal for a compassionate release, Ellie walked out of prison a free woman in 1997 after only serving a 3.5 year sentence. So this was a time when, the legal system, the judicial system said, you know what? Vigilantism in some circumstances is not a bad thing. And in this one, it's not. She didn't kill people. She wasn't a drug addict constantly. She took justice and matters into her own hands. So we're going to let her out. We're going to let her be with her family. Nestler unfortunately found herself in legal trouble again in 2002. Now, remember how her defense team said she only used methamphetamine that one time to give her courage to shoot the man who had raped her son? So she went back to prison in 2002 for possession with intent to sell and paraphernalia of methamphetamines.
Okay.
She would be released in 2008 on another compassionate release, but this time it was due to her having terminal breast cancer. And she died the day after Christmas in 2008.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to go through the cases and tell you what the vigilanteism was, and then we're going to talk about what the effect on the person, either the assailant and their child or just the child, had from this act. I mean, again, I would hope my kids would see me as a hero. Gomez too. Jody Plauché was an active 9-year-old boy who loved his karate class and had become close with his karate teacher, Jeff Duche. So again, here you have a sport where the kid is going to idolize the teacher. Come here. You can be the co-host, okay? All right, here. Sit your butt down. Okay. So he got close. Coach Duche began to spend several evenings in the Plauché home because Jody's parent, he learned that Jody's parents had just recently separated, and Jody's dad, Gary, was temporarily out of the house. So he integrated himself into the home, and people thought he was making moves on Jody's mom. And one would think a young, handsome man like Jeff would be interested in Jody's mom.
Right.
But in March of 1984, Jeff, with the reluctant help of his brother, abducted a now 11-year-old Jody. Stopping at his mother's house in Port Arthur, Texas, to buy Greyhound tickets, which took them across the country to Anaheim, California. Okay, we all have a black sheep, a skeleton, a douchebag of a person in our history, in our family, in our closet. I mean, I've what was the country song, Friends in Low Places? Like, I've had friends in low places.
We've
I
probably
have
all
family
been
in low places.
friends in low places to
Yeah. But fuck you if you come to me and say, "Hey, I just kidnapped this 11-year-old kid and I'm going to take him to Disneyland. I need your help." Oh, hold on. Let me get my phone. I'm going to call somebody to help you.
right.
911 is the only kind of help you're going to get from me. And then his mom on top of it, they went to his mom's house and she hid them for like a week so that he could get the money together, and she gave him the money for these Greyhound tickets and the hotel in Anaheim that they were going to be staying at while they're having a vacation in Disneyland. And see how this was able to be done is Duche had been grooming Jody for the past 2 years, molesting and then eventually raping the young boy. So it started out with, "Hey, let me take some pictures of you doing karate poses. Okay, let's do one with you with the top of your gi off. Let's do one where you're flexing down to underwear, eventually nude, eventually touching, to raping him and abducting him." Gary Plauché and June, his mom, sat with police and on a wiretapped line. "Thank you for being stupid, Jeff. Thank all criminals for being stupid." On a police recorded line, because as luck would have it, Jeff had allowed Jody to make a collect call from their hotel room to his mother. An additional week before Duche was extradited back to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So, so the Anaheim Police Department and the California Highway Patrol show up, and I'll give you guys the name of the hotel because I actually had stayed in this. I don't know if it still exists, but it was called the Jolly Roger. It was the most reasonable motel you could get within walking distance of Disneyland. So yeah, like a family of 4 could stay there for a week for like $200
Right.
in the 80s and 90s. So they got Jody, they got him on a plane, and they got him home fast. But unfortunately, all right, baby, and you farted. But unfortunately, it takes a little bit longer to extradite a criminal because even though you would think all states have the same kind of laws and regulations and things, we don't.
Right.
And sometimes, not everybody wants to play in the sandbox fairly with each other.
True.
So they finally, after this week of getting him ready and getting everything in place, they get Jeff Duche on a plane with police escort back to Louisiana. An ABC News affiliate with WBRZ TV arrived, setting up rows of news cameras on one side of the airport exit terminal. On the other side was a row of payphones. So, okay, this is the time when shit was live. We rarely have anything that's live anymore. It's pretty much streaming, and they can stop the stream whenever. But, back in the day of the box and antenna televisions, shit got real on live TV fast. And as a 13, 14, 10, 7-year-old kid, I saw shit I probably should never have saw because I watched the news with my parent, my mom, my grandma. I remember watching OJ going down the LA freeway in the white Bronco trying to get away. Hmm. And it wasn't this like, oh, here, we're going to show you a clip and then we're going to go to something else and we're going to come back with updates. No, it was 6, 7, 12 hours just constantly watching them chase him down the damn freeway. So they set up these cameras because they want this juicy story. And a crowd gathers because they all know what's going to happen. But they were oblivious to the man in a red ball cap and sunglasses who was standing next to a telephone. And he was talking on the phone at 9:30 at night. He's in an airport. He probably was trying to figure out, this was before Uber. This was before Lyft. He's trying to figure out how the hell he's going to get home from the airport.
Right.
But this was not the case because as Jeff Duche was escorted by an officer in front and behind, and an officer in behind from the plane, the red-hatted man softly set the phone down, raised his hand, and fired one single shot, hitting Jeff Duche just above his right ear. One shot to the brain, and he dropped that monster. One officer assisted Duche as the other secured the shooter, yelling, "Why, Gary, why?" So if they knew him because Gary is Gary Plachette. This is Jody's dad.
Oh.
As the news cameras rolled, Jeff Duche. Okay, I'm going to edit this out, but I have to, this is funny. So, our little 10-year-old senior girl was never fixed because the people that had her are very negligent pet owners. So she's in heat right now. Gomez is fixed. He has no balls. Kind of like the cat butthole we're getting right there too. But he still does the whole like Shih Tzu courting dance. So what they do, I can't get him doing it now because he's just grooming her, but they hop like this on their feet, and all you hear is of his nails hitting the floor, the hardwood floor. So they dance to try to get the female to turn around so they can do well. Doggy style isn't called doggy style for nothing. That's why I turned around to look at, because I'm like, oh God, I know what he's doing, and I hope I don't catch him on camera humping the dog. But they've taken themselves to Mutual Corners. As the news cameras rolled, Jeff Duche, serial pedophile and kidnapper, slipped into a lethal coma on the 10 o'clock news. Plachette supporters protested alongside those who felt Gary deserved life in prison. So it was received very differently. It was received as Gary should not have taken matters into his own hands and should have let the justice system deal with Jeff. But obviously, they didn't deal with Jeff all the other times because he was a pedophile. He had already been convicted and released. And Gary was not going to let this man who, in his mind, ruined his son, destroyed his son, to wake up another day. And he did. Psychologist and Plachet's court judge, Frank Sala, both determined Gary not guilty of second-degree murder by reason of temporary insanity. Plachette had never been in trouble with the law, ever. He never even had a speeding ticket. And so both professors felt that Gary had virtually no risk of ever committing murder again. I would likely agree unless somebody hurts another one of his kids. And then we already know what direction he's going to go. So,
Right.
yeah, let him do it. Don't waste county money to try a child molester. Let him just take one in the head. Yep, we're all thinking it and I said it. So, in a very controversial ruling, Judge Sala sentenced Gary Plechet to a 7-year suspended sentence with 5 years probation and 300 hours of community. The same thing a drunk driver would get, but not a real drunk driver that like killed people, but somebody who just crossed over and, you know, couldn't walk the straight line once they pulled him out of the car. Leon Gary Plechet would pass away on October 20th, 2014 from a stroke. Jody Plechet, at his father's funeral, spoke to the crowd, saying, quote, "My dad was the greatest dad of all time," end quote. As vigilant as we are as our child's caregivers, monsters slip through the cracks. Monsters such as Klaus Grobeski. So this one is going to take us into May 1980, and this is going to take us into Lübeck, Germany, on a very warm spring morning. Marianne Bockheimer couldn't imagine for a second when her 7-year-old daughter, Anna, stormed out the door after a disagreement on what do we always disagree with our kids about? You're not wearing that out in public. You're not doing your hair like that. Take all that makeup off your face. When our kids go to leave the house in their own style, but it's not a style we like, and they get mad and, you know, slam the door like they pay rent and storm off to school, we never stop to think, is this going to be the last time I see my kid? Is my goodbye going to be, pull up your fucking pants, I don't want to see your underwear? And I'm not being silly. I'm truthful.
Right.
She never considered she would never see her daughter alive again. Anna, feeling defiant, skips school when she is approached by Klaus, inviting her to his house to play with his cats. I've said this in a joking manner, like, and I've even had memes that there's a white van with there's a pedophile van and there's a dog in the front seat. And it's like, I get kidnapped. This guy did it. But truthfully, I mean, you have a kid, a 7-year-old. You can come, look, my dog had puppies. There they go. Look, you've been by my house. You've seen my kittens. Come play with my kittens. There they go. Hey, I own a candy store. Come to the shop. I'll give you a bag of candy. There they go.
Right.
And we can talk till we're blue in the face, telling them, don't talk to strangers. Don't go here. Don't do this. But unless, and just as much in the world today as it was in the 80s, unless you are monitoring your kids, monsters will find their way. Had been to Klaus's house before, so she knew about his kittens, and he knew what would get her. Grabowski, over the next several hours, raped, tortured, and strangled Anna with his girlfriend's pantyhose. A butcher by trade, Klaus hogtied Anna's little body and left her on a canal bank in a cardboard box.
Oh.
This mother. Somebody she trusted. So somebody she had already been to their house. But I bet you this is not anybody her mom knew she had visited. Because, you know what, if it were me and my kid was 7 again, hell no, you're not going to some adult's house without me. You're not even going to go have a play date without me. And I say that now about my granddaughter too, because when she's old enough to go places, oh hell, she's never gone anywhere by herself. Or I'm going to get an Apple tag. I'm going to get an Apple tag and stitch it to her back. One of the two, but we'll always know where she is. After discovering what Klaus had done, his girlfriend turned him in to investigators. Okay, good for you that you turned him in. But when I tell you the rest of this, you guys, don't cheer for her. Don't cheer for her at all. On the first day of Grabowski's trial, Mary Ann, who is Anna's mom, learned that only 4 years earlier, Klaus had been convicted of raping 2 young girls. He had agreed as part of his sentencing to be chemically castrated.
Oh.
So if anybody's kind of scratching their head, which I don't, us true crime aficionados usually don't, but if you are, let me toss this out there. So what they do in chemical castration is they give the sex offender a continuous injection or a pill. Most of the time it's an injection. They have to go to their probation office and they get it. And it could be one that they take every week. It could be one that's administered every day. It could be like that. Or it could be a pill. It's rarely ever a pill. Most of the time you have to go check in and they give you a shot. It kills their libido. It creates erection dysfunction, so they're no longer able to achieve an erection. But, Lav, what is rape really about?
Control. Power.
Power and control. It is never about a true sexual attraction. Like, Lav is sexually attracted to Bo Betty. They are consenting adults. There are characteristics about them, about each other, that they find attractive enough to want to have a physical relationship. Pedophiles want a physical relationship with a child, not because they think they are sexy, but because they know they can control them. There are attributes that this child has. They can exploit, manipulate, and control. And Klaus, like many who I will stand up and say, you cannot reform a sex offender. You cannot reform. You cannot rehabilitate a sex offender. And with his girlfriend right out of college, or right out of prison. And he purposely met a woman who was going through menopause. And a lot of women, while they're going through menopause, will use hormone replacement therapy, also known as HRT, which is a pill, is a shot to help your hormones balance themselves out so that you have a libido during menopause. You are able to achieve sexual pleasure from it, because sometimes having sex during menopause can be painful because your body's changing hormonally. So, you know, he purposely sought out and found a woman that was going through menopause, taking HRT, and he stole it from her. And he took it. But ask yourself this, guys, and this is where I said don't count her as a hero just yet. How the fuck do you not notice your hormone replacement medication gone?
Right.
Seriously? It's not like Tylenol. It doesn't come in a giant bottle. You know.
Right. Unless it was something like he made some story up about how he knocked it out of the cabinet and it all went down the drain or something, you know.
And you know what? Maybe the first week, second week, okay, but this is 4 years. If you're so stupid that you believe he has accidentally lost it for 4 years, you probably should have went up the fucking creek. The HRT that he took from his girlfriend was government issued.
Huh.
So not only does he know his girlfriend is getting hormone replacement, the government knows that she's getting hormone replacement. And they both know that they have an active pedophile in the home. During his court session, Grabowski told the judge that Anna knew about his past and threatened him with extortion. A 7-year-old? A 7-year-old threatened him with extortion? A 7-year-old can't even say extortion.
Right.
My 18-year-old son doesn't even know what extortion is. And not because he's dumb. It's just not something that you have in your everyday life unless you're a gangster or a politician or a fucking pedophile. The ignorance of this declaration astounds me. And it set her mother back, too. Because on March 16th, 1981, Mary Ann, feeling faithless in the Lubbock judicial system, walked into court, room 157, armed with a Beretta 70, and calmly shot Grabowski 7 times in the back, killing him instantly. Now, here's the thing. If you guys are feeling adventurous, go for it. But I'll also see if I can add it to our live, to our recording. On YouTube, if you put in Mary Ann's name, the video of her in court is on there. And it shows her, she's sitting alongside the wall. She's in a brown regular coat. She's just sitting there very calm. And they walk him in and they stand him at the podium. Well, here's the podium. Here's where she's sitting. She's literally along the wall, side by side. And as he's standing at the podium, the police take 1 step back. She stands up and calm. It is so calm. She literally just does this.
Huh.
And that's it. And she shoots him. Pop, pop, pop.
Damn.
Bachmeier peacefully handed her gun over and was taken into custody. The public was divided, with some 100% supporting Mary Ann and others fearing lawless vigilante justice would encourage others to do the same. So, okay, I get that, because if one person is kind of legally given the okay, what's going to stop somebody else from just like killing somebody just because, and then going, well, I was traumatized because they stole my cat, or I was traumatized because my car had been stolen before. And then when I saw him in it, I shot him. I get it. At the same time, I get her. Because Anna was her life.
Right.
His father was not in the picture. Marianne didn't date. She didn't have any other kids. It was Marianne. On March 3rd, 1983, Marianne Bachmeier was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 6 years in prison. And 3 of those years was felony possession of a firearm, and 3 of them was for voluntary manslaughter. She only spent 3 in prison, and she, in the 3, even when you research, you look at the story and stuff, her life in prison was not, if anybody's ever seen Orange is the New Black, that's kind of what her life in prison was. She, she worked in the kitchen, she got along with everybody, she wasn't even considered a murderer. She was, Mama Marianne. And 11 years later, Marianne wrote a tell-all book where she confessed to premeditated murder due to her realistic fear that Klaus would get off easy and kill again. This fucker had already gotten off. And then he went and he took hormones and got his libido back.
Right.
I'd be scared of the same thing. Obviously, the judicial department didn't do it, so I've got to take it.
Right.
Marianne remarried and traveled the world before tragically dying at 46 years old from pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
So she actually married a man that had been her best friend through the whole ordeal with Anna. He had been by her side the whole time. He was a professor, and he totally understood her. He helped her write the book. She was laid to rest with Anna. So they opened the mausoleum wall where Anna's remains were, and they put her mom with her. And if you believe in heaven or the afterlife, it's kind of a beautiful thought and a very it's a beautiful feeling, and it's kind of a feeling of justice, I guess I'm trying to say, to know that she was reunited with her love, her child. I mean, I'm lucky. I got one that's all the way at 19. I got one that made it all the way to 18. I consider myself very lucky.
Right.
In these type of situations, one can usually find themselves asking, how are the children and where are they now? So our tale, Pretty People, has both sides of the proverbial double-edged sword. You have Jody Fleischer, who wrote a book about his father. And I actually read it. It's a really good book. But unfortunately, he kind of relied a little bit too much on the research of others. And then he put a little bit of his own spin on the book. But he's a motivational speaker now. And he's a damn good one. And he's done a TED Talk. He's done YouTubes. You can look him up. He's a damn good motivational speaker. And the book itself is called Why Gary Why, same thing that the officer said to his dad. But when Jody speaks, he always says, my dad was my hero. And he became a motivational speaker after a 12-year-old boy contacted him. He gained the confidence to report his pastor for sexually molesting him after seeing Jody on a local TV program. So Jody went on as an adult. He talked about his book. He talked about his experience. And this 12-year-old boy reached out to him to tell him that his beloved adult figure was hurting him too.
Wow.
And look, you have, the child whose father was a vigilante. He didn't tell this 12-year-old's parent to go out and shoot the pastor.
Right.
He told him to get with the police.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, Jody still says, 42 years later, that Gary is still his hero. Jody says he had a wonderful life because of what his father did.
Right.
William Nessler, terribly, can't say the same about his life. In July of 2004, 23-year-old Willie, as he is still called, was a fugitive in connection to the murder of David Davis, a physically disabled man who lived on Nessler's property in Sonora. So what it was is Willie Nessler is living on the property that his mother had purchased through donations, contributions, just, people who were just like, here, let's help you do this, because they saw her community saw her as a hero.
Right.
And so as a lot of, back in the sticks properties happen, he's got a tiny house or a woodshed or something off in the back. And this guy's like, hey, I need a place to live. I don't want to be on the streets. And it's like, okay, cool. You can live in my garage.
Right.
So this man was physically and mentally disabled. Before this conviction, Willie had been in and out of jail an estimated 20 times for robbery, assault, and go figure, methamphetamine possession. Davis confronted Nessler over some missing tools. So Davis has tools that he uses within whatever capacity, physically and mentally, that he was able to make money, more than likely to subsidize his Social Security disability. Because I don't know if anybody knows someone who's on Social Security disability or has been themselves. You're not rich, and you're not going to be rich. And you could have made $100,000 a year. You're going to get $600, $700, $2,000 a month. You may have been used to living on $10,000 a month. You're not getting that from the government, and you're not getting it from the state. So if you have ever known somebody who has a very heavy drug addiction, and I have and still do, they steal. They steal anything that is not nailed down.
Right.
So when Davis confronted Nessler over his missing stuff, Nessler knocked him to the ground and began stomping on David's forehead and on his neck. Now, Willie Nessler is over 6 feet tall and over 250 pounds in a pair of steel work boots, stomping on this poor disabled man's head and his neck. And during Willie's trial, his 19-year-old sister, Rebecca Nessler, testified that Willie never had a chance in life. Daniel Driver took that from him when he raped him. He also didn't have a chance in life because he didn't have a mother figure or a father figure. See, Daniel was acting like a father figure because Nessler's children did not have their father at home. And that's how he was able to groom Willie and, consequently rape him repetitively. Willie will spend the next 25 years to life for Davis's murder. And I checked, and yes, he's in Chowchilla. He's still in prison. In a court-appointed psych eval Nestler confessed that he felt lost after what his mother did. Quote, I was over it. He's talking about the molestation. Really, I was over it. She tore our family apart. She never should have killed Driver. Willie's first parole hearing will be in 2031. So for all you listeners that are like, oh, wow, that's kind of far away. That's 6 years from now. In 6 years, he will have served 25.
Wow.
So there's a song that I like, and I'll put it in with our episode. And it's from a movie called The Retaliators. And The Retaliators is a horror movie that was made by Slash, the guitarist of Guns N' Roses. And so it's filled with heavy metal band people, so musicians. Then they play these different parts. Well, the movie is about a father who constantly bit his tongue, and he held his temper anytime anybody would disrespect him or disrespect his kids, and he would turn the other cheek. Well, his oldest daughter is raped and murdered, and he stops turning the other cheek. So that's what the movie is about. And the lyrics of it are basically the same, but part of it says, it says 21 guns, 21 daughters, 21 shots, 21 sons. And then it states in there, it doesn't matter how many times I shoot, 21 bullets would not have saved her.
Yeah.
So on one side, we have a man that had a wonderful childhood because his father became his hero. But Gary Plachette did things a lot different than Ellie Nestler did. And Ellie Nestler tore her family apart. And I don't think just because she murdered Daniel Driver, I think because her life was riddled with poverty and drug use and isolation.
Right.
Now, what do you guys think? Is it worth it? Is it not? Would 21 shots save?
No. I mean, what's done is done, but it's going to be, that's just comes down to your own morals. What are you going to be able to live with? Are you going to be able to live with yourself? Either way. If you
exactly,
or if you didn't do it.
Exactly. As our very brilliant host has just pointed out, when you lay your head down on your pillow at night, can you live with yourself for putting a bullet in somebody's head who harmed your child? Or can you live with yourself watching the torment your child is going through and not receiving any kind of justice? Tell us in the comments. Give us a like, give us a share. Send us a message. What would you do?
Right.
And it doesn't have to just be your child. Are you willing to go to jail for your significant other, for your mom, for your brother? What would you do in a situation? And it doesn't even have to be a human life. What would you do? I'm going to pose this to all of our friends, all of our party people. What would you do if somebody or something you loved was taken from you in a brutal way? And with that, I hope that we hear from you on the flip side.
Bid you adieu.